Hello and welcome to PCMag Live. I'm Dan Costa. He is Sascha Segan, and we've got a great show for you today. We're going to break down the top tech news of the day, answer some of your reader questions, and show you one very cool, almost frozen thing from the lab. Let's move on.
Are we going to have snacks today?
There may be snacks at the end of the program, but you have to wait and find out.
Okay, it's Friday. I want snacks.
All right. Let's move on to the biggest question of the day, which is that Netflix is calling out ISPs by name in its error messages, and the ISPs are not too happy about it. That's right, this weekend as you are binging on Orange is the New Black and you hit a buffering error, you very well may get a message that says that Verizon is responsible for that problem, but Netflix is going to solve it for you.
Yeah, this is just an argument between Netflix and the monopoly last mile internet providers. These are the people who provide you your personal broadband, Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, Time Warner, Cable Town, that thing, over who is going to pay for Netflix's traffic into their systems. You already, of course, pay your internet provider for what you think is the internet, but no, these guys also want Netflix to give them more money because they feel that Netflix is overusing their networks from the other end. So Verizon is saying to Netflix, if you want a really great clear connection to Verizon customers, well, you need to come make a deal with us. And it may be slightly more expensive than deals you've made with other people. But we, of course, are Verizon, and we hold the consumers in our fists, and they have no choice, and they're just going to have to suffer and suck it up.
But Netflix has been doing these deals. They've done a deal with Comcast to co-locate and to deliver service. They've done a deal with Verizon, so they are paying Verizon extra.
Right, because ultimately, these ISPs do control the marketplace. If we don't have a choice, and most Americans only really have a choice for streaming video of one cable ISP and one much slower DSL system, you know, if you're lucky, you're one of the like 26 people who has fiber, but it's an infinitesimal percentage of the nation and not growing very fast. So most people don't have a choice. Netflix understands that most people don't have a choice. Netflix needs these companies to deliver its content, so these ISPs really have everybody over a barrel in all directions.
And it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. There's no disruptive technologies coming to the market that could change this, and the government doesn't seem to have any interest in regulating this any more than it already is.
Yeah, so these error messages are really just sort of a futile complaint from Netflix's side, because what are you going to do? Are you going to switch ISPs? To what? You don't have any other choice.
Moving on, SoftBank is going to be selling robots in Japan next year. They're going to cost about $1,900. They're calling them adorably Pepper. They're about waist high, and they're very cool, neat little robots, but the thing that's neat about them is they're supposed to be able to show emotion and read your emotions by doing facial recognition and reading the timbre of your voice.
So I've been trying to figure out what these things are for. Are these for, like, specifically the epidemic of lonely elderly people in Japan?
I mean, you talk about these robots, and they say they want to use them to augment their workforce. They have an aging workforce, and they want them to come online and take roles in the service industry, take roles taking care of old people, but really be like robot companions. I think at the first wave, that's really what they're going to do. They're going to have conversations with you.
Okay, so this is specifically about like this specifically Japanese problem of the country is being depopulated for some reason that I personally don't actually understand.
And SoftBank wants to repopulate it with robots.
Exactly, exactly. And so now there's going to be, like I heard about the robot that will bathe your grandma, and so now this is the robot that will hang out with your grandma and like talk to her about bridge or whatever it is.
I want to get one into the lab. They sound pretty cool. They're loaded with more than a dozen sensors, including sensors on their hands, so they'll have some kind of interactivity that way. Sensors on their head, laser sensors, proximity sensors, so they're going to be semi-autonomous. They'll connect to the cloud, and then what'll be really interesting is how good is this voice recognition? Will they be able to understand what you're saying and see how you're feeling?
Well, I mean, if it can keep me from boiling over with rage in the middle of the day, then maybe you should get one.
That robot has not been built yet. That robot has not been built, and I don't know that it ever will be. Let's move on to a birthday. It's Tetris's 30th birthday. Tetris was near and dear to our hearts as we were growing up. We think of it as like the Flappy Birds of our generation.
But one of the things I think is the most amazing thing about Tetris is that, so you have to be old to remember the geopolitical situation in the 80s. And at the time, in the United States, the Russians were the enemy. And there was this sense that it was the US versus the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union was this big, dark, opaque thing. And Tetris was the first real like consumer product to come out of the Soviet
cultural
Union.
Export.
Yeah, and get into the hands of American kids. And there was this sense of Oh, whoa, the Russians can create cool things too.
They play games too.
Yeah, it was like video game diplomacy. And of course, then Tetris totally took over. And I remember there were nights in high school when I would go to sleep and I would see Tetris blocks behind my eyelids. Like they wouldn't go away. This is a known psychological phenomenon, by the way.
Yep. So there you have it. Tetris ended the Cold War and gave Sascha nightmares.
And apparently it's coming to Xbox One and PS4 soon. So
That's right.
I
it would affect a whole new generation.
Yeah, I wonder, is it going to be like, like 3D tactile, first-person shooter Tetris? I don't know what you do with the Xbox One there.
Let's move on to a reader question. We take reader questions via email, on Twitter, on Facebook, in the comments section of our YouTube videos. Today's question comes from a very interesting column that you wrote this week, basically slamming, what was the headline of your Sprint column?
Oh, well, this was, don't believe Sprint's T-Mobile merger lies. I'm very against Sprint buying T-Mobile for various reasons. You can read them online.
So that started the question, so Mike asked on Twitter, hey Sascha, you're complaining about running over your cellular data cap this week. What plan are you on and why?
Now, this is an interesting question because I think it connects to a lot of you listeners and readers about feeling not particularly free to switch cellular data plans. I, like many people, have been with my carrier for a number of years, T-Mobile, and I have a somewhat older data plan, a T-Mobile value plan with a 2 GB cap. And T-Mobile has advanced things since then, but unfortunately, if I were to switch to any other plan, I would have to pay at least $20 a month more.
Yeah. Old plans are good plans. That's the thing. The older your data plan, the better it is.
But the result is that a lot of people do feel trapped. And, the way I feel is one way. This is like, think about the people on the really old Verizon and AT&T unlimited data plans. They feel they are basically married to their carrier till death do them part.
Keep those questions coming. We will answer them live on air. Now it's time for one cool thing. We test thousands of products here in our lab in New York City. Every day we take one thing off the shelf and show it to you live. We do not take this off the shelf. We just wheeled it over from a corner in the lab.
We can take a shelf off of it.
We can. This is the Samsung Smart Fridge, and legally I have to give you the model number, which is the RF28HMELBSR.
Or as I refer to it, the MELBSR.
The MELBSR. Is actually, that's what they're going to be going to market with, and that's what will be in all the television ads. But it's a smart connected TV. It goes for $3,600. And the center point really is this control panel and dashboard built into the face of the TV. This is.
You've called it a TV twice so far.
I did. You did. Yeah. But it does Pandora. It does Epicurious. You can make telephone calls from your refrigerator.
This is basically an Android tablet built into the face of the fridge, and it's plumbed into the fridge in various ways, and it also connects to Samsung Smart TVs in your home and to phones. So like this kitchen TV button, what this will do is actually stream video from your smart TV in your living room. The kitchen phone button will connect through your Samsung cell phone. So it's very much Samsung trying to say, make a Samsung home. Don't buy one Samsung product, buy 5, and then they'll start working together in these beautiful, complicated ways.
Yeah, I think we just got this into the lab, as you can tell, because let's see if you got any snacks for you. A beer.
Is that what we call a snack?
That is what we call a snack at PCMag Labs. Why don't we wait till the afternoon before we have that snack?
Okay.
We got a little bit more work to do. We're going to start testing this. You'll be able to read the full review on PCMag.com. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week with a brand new show.